Hi, if you're like me and you were raised to be nice, quiet, and responsible, then this video is for you. You probably thought that being a nice girl kept you safe, but actually, not only you ended up in dangerous and very unpleasant situations, but you also didn't realize how much it's hurting your health. And in this video, I want to give you some tips on how to make these people-pleasing patterns better and how to actually heal and choose yourself first. We're not going to be blaming parents in this video. We're going to realize what is happening to us, why and how to deal with it. And I actually almost didn't film this video because, to be honest, I was really scared. I don't really feel comfortable talking to the camera, and I was really not feeling like an expert on this topic. But then I thought, hey, I myself have endometriosis of the third stage. I have a hypothyroidism that I've been struggling with since I was around 11 years old, and all of the doctors are telling me there is nothing to be done about this. They're telling me you're gonna have chronic pain your whole life, you're gonna keep bleeding. The only thing you can do is take hormones and eat healthy and do some sports. And I thought to myself, there is no way this is it. There is no way I cannot do anything about this. Nobody knows where this came from. And maybe if I realize where this came from, there could be a way to fix it. Let's talk about psychosomatics one-on-one. And what I'm about to read to you right now, it's not facts. I'm not a doctor. This is something that I have read from various sources, and I have confirmed with people that are actually struggling from these diseases. And maybe you could relate, and maybe that could give you some insight. But if you cannot relate and you're thinking this is bullshit, just ask yourself, what have you actually been repressing your whole life? Because, for example, before filming this video, I had the severest throat ache, and that actually means that we are too scared of sharing. And I actually did feel extremely scared of talking about this topic because this is my first YouTube video. Here's what they don't teach in school. When you're in a constant state of people pleasing and avoiding your own emotions, your body keeps the score, and you actually create the illnesses by yourself. And these are the most common symptoms and what they mean. For example, if you're having chronic throat issues and thyroid illness, that could mean repressed self-expression. Why am I having a weird accent right now? That could mean repressed self-expression. As I said, you might be scared of sharing your opinion, you might be suppressing your authentic self to fit into the society. This is actually very common with immigrants because they tend to adapt and kind of forget who they actually are. And that gets stored in this area. If you're having endometriosis or severe menstrual pain, that could mean emotional suppression and unresolved guilt. That could also mean that you don't feel safe in your body. And for a lot of women, that means that they don't feel safe enough to reproduce, so the womb closes up and doesn't let you basically have children as easily as it would let other women. If you're having digestive issues or IBS, that could mean unprocessed anxiety, fear of rejection. Actually, IBS is tightly connected to the anxiety disorder. If you're having migraines, that could mean a mental overload and perfectionism. An autoimmune disease means your body is turning on itself just like you do emotionally. And a fun fact, 80% of people who are suffering from autoimmune diseases are women. I wonder why is that? I mean, I think the answer is pretty obvious. There is a definition of the nice girl and there is a definition of the nice guy. And funnily enough, they have nothing to do with each other. Like nice girls, we tend to suppress ourselves, we tend to agree when we don't feel like it, we tend to please, we tend to stay quiet if we're not comfortable, we tend to not listen to our bodies, and that could lead us to ending up in dangerous situations. Nice guys, like, isn't that the term for guys that are being too entitled to women's attention? Is there even a term for men to describe men who are severe people pleasers? Like, I mean, not the word people pleasers, but like the nice girl magnified. If you know, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I can't think of anything right now. And now that we've talked about what you could be having and why you could be having it, let me share some tips that are helping me to get better over all these months that I've been in therapy. So tip number 1 is called body check-ins. So since our thoughts are getting stored in our body, it is very important to notice that and get those feelings out. And ask yourself throughout the day, how am I actually feeling right now? Because sometimes your body might feel something that you have already suppressed in your head. So for example, in your head, you are feeling like you're fine with the decision you've made, but your body feels like screaming. So you try to locate this emotion inside, make it bigger, sit with this emotion and ask yourself, what are you actually feeling right now? And what is it you actually need? And if you're not feeling any strong emotions, just ask yourself throughout the day, how is my body feeling? Maybe right now you've been overeating while watching this video because you forgot how much you've already chewed. Maybe your legs are getting numb. Maybe your bra is too tight. Maybe your jeans are being too tight on your belly. Just close your eyes and bring attention back to your body. Is anything hurting right now? Is there any way you can make yourself more comfortable? It all starts with these little changes. So tip number 2 is voice activation. As good girls, we tend to stay quiet more often, and even if we decide to speak up and somebody doesn't hear it, or even worse, somebody repeats what we said and then everybody laughs and thinks they're so funny, we tend to just ignore it and suppress our feelings. So to improve our voices, we can talk to ourselves. And I've been living alone for the past month and it has been amazing. I am talking to myself all the time as if I were talking to my best friend. If I'm watching TikToks, I laugh out loud. If I'm walking by a mirror, I'm just telling myself something like, oh girl, your hair looks crazy, because I just got bangs that I didn't ask for. But it's okay, we accept ourselves in any way we are, and we can make fun of ourselves. If we're thinking of some comment, just say it out loud and answer to that comment right away. If it's something negative, just try to give yourself the support out loud. That will give you so much more confidence over time. That will give you a possibility to train your voice like a muscle, and then it would make you more confident to speak up during conversations. The tip number 3 is a somatic exercise. So because all of this guilt, anger, fear, and sadness are getting stored in your body, it is very important to get it out. Do something physical. We are the only animals that are not shaking when we're feeling anxious, and that is a big problem because very often we're just sitting in the office in front of our computer and we feel like screaming. We are so anxious, we're so scared, it feels like a mammoth is chasing us, even though we're just about to enter a Teams meeting or somebody asks us to speak on a topic we know nothing about. And it is very important to just stand up and do something if you can. The easiest to do is just some calf raises, then you don't actually need to get down and do some push-ups. If you're home alone and you're not working right now, start dancing. Put on some favorite song. If it has to be a sad song, do a sad song for a while, then switch it to happy music and just dance. And dance in the most cringe way possible, because you need to get comfortable with yourself. If you're not comfortable with yourself, how do you expect other people to be comfortable with you? So it is very cringe, you're gonna be very embarrassed. Do it in a room, close the curtains, do whatever you need, turn off the light, and just dance. If you can't do it, just do some little exercise, basically 2 squats, calf raises, I don't know, scream in a pillow, punch it. I saw a really funny video where a girl was really angry and she was punching the curtain, and that looked so fun. And I thought to myself, when I get curtains, I'm gonna try that, because it's just like, it looks so ridiculous that when you're doing it, it makes you want to laugh, and then you're basically getting rid of all these negative emotions in the moment, instead of thinking back to this moment when you're in therapy later and thinking, how much more money do I have to pay this person to get rid of all of these feelings that I have suppressed? So tip number 4, micro boundaries. Let's learn to set boundaries. And I'm not talking cut off people right away. If you're not used to that, if you feel like you're gonna feel extremely guilty for days after that, then don't do it. The smallest way to start is just to start with taking a break after somebody asks you something. Don't answer right away. Tell them, let me get back to you later, or I need a second to think, or hey, I'm not sure, can I tell you closer to that date? Come up with an excuse if you have to, but don't answer right away if you're not sure if you want to say yes. Before reacting to something, if you feel like somebody is being offensive to you right now, instead of just smiling, clock it in your head and then think, how do I actually want to react right now? And don't call this person out right away. You're not going to be able to do that, but just stay silent for a second. Actually, the most intimidating technique is just to stare at that person after they've offended you. But just take a second. If you have to smile after, smile. Allow yourself, forgive yourself for having these patterns, but make them conscious. Know that you're doing it in which situations so that you can change it later. And the last tip is say no. That is one of the hardest things for us to do, for the good girls, because we tend to put the needs of other people first. But as I said, we can end up in really dangerous situations when we don't know how to say no. And in those situations, we tend to blame ourselves because we actually had control and we didn't take it. We let the other person have it. So to train it, start small, start unimportant. Say no to whipped cream on your coffee. Say no to the homeless person that's asking for money. Say no if somebody's asking you if you want to call right now. Tell them no, but maybe in 5 minutes. Like, even it doesn't have to be like a definite no. Just train the muscle. If you actually want to say yes, say no and then say, just kidding, if you're like extremely uncomfortable with saying it, because that is gonna train your muscle, and day after day you're gonna get more comfortable. You're gonna learn to say no in more important situations, and you are gonna love yourself for that. So being a good girl, it's not your identity. It's not something you have to carry through your whole life. It is just a muscle that you have trained over all of these years. It's something you can unlearn to feel better as soon as you start making your patterns conscious. And I really hope that you can start small. Just choose one of these tips to start with. Actually, for the voice activation, by the way, making voice notes instead of journaling is a really good tip because it's quick. You can talk to yourself. It feels like a voice message on WhatsApp, but to yourself, and you can just talk there, and you're gonna feel so much better afterwards, and you're gonna get used to expressing your true emotions slowly. I really hope this video was helpful. Let me know which tip was your most favorite, and I will be really happy to see you in my next video about a little quiz if you are a people pleaser. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for listening to my first ever video on YouTube. Oh my god, I'm done with it. That feels amazing. I wish you a great week and see you soon.